Because more and more of you are realizing that there's more to life than living in the grind. You're ready for something real, something that feels alive and sparks your creative energy and your interest again. Whether you are new to manifestation or you're just curious about manifestation, I guarantee you have never heard training on how to manifest the way that I talk about in this video. And to top it all off, it's going to direct you to another free training so that you can start manifesting before the end of this year in 2025. This might sound a little strange, but if you've ever felt like your energy and your actions are not in the same page, you're exactly where you need to be. I work with people who are looking for something new. They're waking up to new feelings, new curiosities, and they want to make a change, but they don't quite know how to talk about it yet. They don't have the words for it. Like, what is this new energy? What is this new feeling? What do I even want to do? They've spent years adapting to the professional world that just didn't match them. It never felt right feeling rewarded for the hustle and the grind that they were forced to live and work in. But performance, productivity, they've done all the things. Deep down, something still feels off. Something's off internally, and they just don't know what it is. They crave flow and ease. Like, life doesn't have to be this hard. And they're starting to wake up to this. They're starting to discover this. They've heard of something called inner peace, but what does that mean? What does that look like for them? But they do know when they talk about it and think about it, it feels pretty good. But how do you get there? Because they don't want to grind for success anymore. They want to feel aligned with what they're working so hard for. Maybe you've felt that too, feeling this quiet pull and this quiet tug at you to live differently. Once upon a time, you trusted your timing, your intuition, and maybe even your emotions. And you're starting to remember and wake up to the fact that there is more to life than just checking off boxes, getting things done. For me, this is where human design really came in. It shifted everything in me. It took some time, but that's where I come in for your shift and the timing of where you're at right now and why you're watching this video right now. So for me to get in alignment with my feminine energy, my feminine flow, I needed to start accepting and understanding that just because I had a different energy level than other people, it didn't mean that I was working any less hard. It didn't mean that I was lazy. It didn't mean that I was inconsistent. But what it did mean is that I was using my energy in a way that didn't match with how I was designed to flow. Once I started following my emotional rhythm instead of fighting it, in other words, instead of making myself feel guilty for laying in bed a little bit longer, guilty for going home on time, or pushing the snooze button one more time, I needed to refuel for my day because I was exhausting so much energy for work that just wasn't aligned with me. But when I started doing this, I started finding clarity. Things started making sense. I found this sense of peace and confidence within myself that I really didn't even realize that I had lost. That awareness led me to Vipassana. Now, if you haven't heard of Vipassana before, it's a meditation retreat that's 10 days long and 10 hours of meditation training. It was probably the most challenging thing I had ever signed up for. During Vipassana, we do something called noble silence. That silence for me got me reconnected to something really powerful. I learned that my emotions, your emotions, aren't in the way of achieving your goals. They actually are the way. And that experience inspired me to write this book, The Unified Way. In this book, I talk about human design and other modalities that really help me to understand how the flow of energy works in our bodies. And we all have a unique flow that helps us to balance masculine and feminine energy. The masculine is more about our drive and our doing energy to get things done. Feminine energy, the other side of that, is how we get into flow, use our intuition, and just being ourselves, being who we are no matter where we are. I believe that balance, finding that balance within ourselves, is more important now than ever. So why does it matter now? These days, many people are tired. They're tired of doing everything and still feeling unfulfilled. We've been taught that constant motion equals progress, but it's actually what keeps us disconnected from what's going on around us and from the world and people around us that we love and care about. Real power doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from learning to listen to your energy. By listening, I mean feeling, sensing, knowing the sensations that happen in your body when this situation occurs or that situation occurs. When you respond versus react, you're moving in rhythm with your purpose instead of forcing it. That is when flow begins. That is what flow is. More and more people are feeling this shift, the shift that you are feeling right now. So I created a program that could just meet you exactly where you're at, because more and more of you are realizing that there is more to life than living in the grind. You're ready for something real, something that feels alive and sparks your creative energy and your interest again. That is why I created Flowstate Manifesting. And in this free training, you'll learn how to reconnect with your natural rhythm and feel that balance to be able to do things that you really enjoy and still have the energy to do the things that you just kind of have to do. And in this training, you will learn how to manifest. Now, I am not a manifestation coach. I am a life coach. Why? Because I believe that we manifest everything in life. Manifesting is the most natural way to be ourselves. How many times have you heard that saying, if you're nervous about speaking in front of people or giving a toast at a wedding or speaking in front of your peers at work, how many times have you heard the phrase, just go up there and be yourself? Well, people say that really without thinking, because it is not the most natural thing to just be yourself. But in this training, I'm going to show you what that really means. And when we can truly be ourselves in life, in work, things flow. Things flow in ways that at one point you only dreamed that they would flow that way. Honestly, I am living proof of that. To put it into context, I am nearly 54 years old right now. And these past couple years, I have done more work on myself than I have in my lifetime. And once these principles started clicking with me, it was like a domino effect of different things happening over and over again. And it was after Vipassana that I realized that so many things that I wanted to change in my life in the past had automatically happened and automatically shifted in the direction that I wanted without much effort. Why? Because when I started connecting with the real me, the me that I wanted to have come out at different times of struggles in my life, are coming out today in an effortless way where I'm not having to think about it. I'm not having to force myself to prep for something very meaningful and significant. I'm not having to prep for or worry about things that are coming and happening in my life. They are just happening. And I don't mean that to sound like magical or mystical. If anything, it is the complete opposite. It's natural. And after Vipassana, I realized that everybody should feel this. Everybody should know what it feels like to have what you want in life and to make it a real thing in your life where one day you look back and say, wow, I'm here. And I didn't even realize that it was already rolling in and already happening. So I hope that you'll join me in this free flow state manifesting training that I put together. So as I said earlier, in this training, you'll learn how to manifest, not by chasing, but by aligning through awareness, emotion, and flow. Because when you're inner masculine and your inner feminine are working together, everything you want begins to find you, and it ends up gravitating to you without effort. There's this clarity and understanding that comes without having to search, without having to research, without having to study. It becomes a natural expression of who you are. So, by the way, if you haven't caught on to this already, your flow state is already within you. You just need to allow it to express itself. Allow you to be you so that you can feel that flow that is within you. You just have to learn to listen to it again. So join me in the Flowstate Manifesting class. It's free. It's where this whole journey of what I talked about today really begins. But look in the comments for the link so that you can register for this free training.